morning. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Welcome to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning. I'd like to welcome my fellow commissioners, staff, and guests we have today, and those at home or in an office watching. Thank you so much for taking an interest in your local government. With that, I'm going to start with public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment, and that will bring us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Sparks, supported by Commissioner Bolter. Any questions or comments or items that have to be pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 3 from Kent County Community Action. Al?
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate an additional $53,000 in funding provided by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the Michigan Energy Assistance Program Grant, MEAP, to the 2021-22 Kent County Community Action Fund, contingent upon execution of a contract, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Additional MEAP funds in the amount of $53,000 were made available by MDHHS. These funds will be utilized to assist eligible households with energy expenses, setting up affordable payment plans, and budgeting assistance for individual households. Board Resolution 09092185 appropriated $26,687 for the MEAP 2021-22 program budget. The contract with MDHHS is increasing grant funding from $12,000 to $65,000, which requires an additional grant appropriation of $53,000. A portion of the increase in the amount of $5,200 will be utilized to replace a portion of the general fund support, reducing the amount from $14,687 to $9,487. The total MEAP budget will be $74,487, with $65,000 in grant funding and $9,487 for general fund support. The grant term is October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the amended agreement as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Sparks, supported by Commissioner Bolkowski. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion, and please, just a reminder to each commissioner to speak directly into your microphone when you're making your comments. Anyone? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from the Health Department. Al?
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve a grant from the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, LARA, accept and appropriate $105,065 to the 2021-22 Health Fund budget, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. LARA has provided funding to be used for education, communication, and outreach regarding the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. The Health Department received LARA medical marijuana funding in 2021 and developed an educational, prevention-focused media campaign that emphasized the safe storage of marijuana products. With the 2022 funding, the Health Department will continue this comprehensive messaging campaign with the goal of preventing accidental ingestion by children and reducing teen access to marijuana. The media campaign goal is to reach many of the county's residents with a wide age, range, and economic spectrum using traditional forms of marketing and digital social media-based marketing platforms. In addition, the campaign will focus on increasing awareness about the danger of improper storage and the potential risk it poses to children and teens. Grant funds will be used to cover the cost of existing staff, contractual expenses for the media campaign, and indirect costs. The agreement period for the LARA agreement is January 1, 2022 through September 15, 2022. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the agreement as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bolkowski and supported by Commissioner Sparks. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion on this, and we'll start with Commissioner Bukowski.
All right, well, I guess, I mean, the state's passing these dollars down to do this, the media campaign or education campaign. Kind of picking up my theme from last Thursday, legislative priorities, how do we measure the impact of this? Especially, not to be too cynical on a Tuesday morning, but it's, for every billboard you have, the recreational marijuana, and I know this is medical marijuana, but recreational marijuana has a few thousand billboards. Same thing with alcohol, same thing with online gambling, the little tag at the end. Oh, by the way, if you've already lost your house, please call us. So in all of this, to spend $100,000, is it yelling at the hurricane? I mean, how do you know you're making a difference?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, it's hard to measure that, but one of the main focuses of the grant is for the safe storage, to keep it away from children, especially small children. There's all the edibles that look like gummy bears, brownies, fruit snacks. These small children don't recognize that those are issues. So the impact that we can measure is how many children are visiting the ER for accidental ingestion. That's what we're trying to prevent, is the overdose or the poisoning of young children, from these products. So we could measure by looking at how many, what's the baseline of children that are, seen in the ER for that, and then, what's the impact of that? Have we seen a decrease? So that's our ultimate goal of this funding, is to keep it out of the hands of young children. It's,
Well, you read my next question. How many accidental ingestions by children were there in the last year that we have statistics for?
I don't have that information with me, but I think we do have that, because I know initially, when this was put into place, we had an ER doc who provided information on how many there were, and that, it was increasing, obviously, as it's more accessible to all the various, age groups or whatever. It's much more accessible to these young children as well. So that's the importance of the safe storage, but I can try to get that information to you.
Right, because I mean, at one level, one is too many. At the same time, if we had 2 last year and 4 this year, that's 100% increase. And statistically, it sounds like a lot. It's 2 more. And so anyways, just really those numbers. And again, is there a better thing to spend $100,000 on? Not that I want to give more money to the sheriff, but, we talk about how do we measure driving with impairment? Do we have enough resources trying to figure that out? Because that's a bigger issue than accidental ingestion. But I got a bad attitude about the state of Michigan. My bad. Sorry, Commissioner Morgan.
Okay, I'm going to try and lighten it up here a little bit.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think any education, but I got to tell you something. I'm in the EMS business, and we've had some super seniors that we've had to transport because they don't know what they're doing with this. And so it's not only kids is what I'm trying to get to. I mean, there's some when you have pot shops opening up in northern Kent County everywhere, I think we need some education out there at some point in time, because I was just a little bit surprised. It's not only the kids that really don't know what they're doing, it's some of the older than me seniors, little older maybe.
Older than me, senior.
Yeah, older than, just a little older. But anyway, you get my point, right? So, look out.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 from the Sheriff's Office. Al?
Yes, action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, from the Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance and appropriate $64,748 to the 2021-22 Sheriff's Office Special Projects Fund and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The Edward Byrne Memorial JAG supports local activities that prevent and control crime, including law enforcement programs, prosecution and court programs, prevention and education programs, corrections and community corrections programs, drug treatment programs, and planning, evaluation, and technology programs. Kent County and the City of Grand Rapids will each receive $64,748. The City of Grand Rapids Community Development Department will be responsible for the administration of the grant and will be receiving an additional $14,388 for this work. The funds will be used by the Sheriff's Office to purchase chatbot software that will automate responses for records requests, which will also schedule virtual and in-person appointments. Requests for service will be handled more efficiently through a customized knowledge database, FAQ page, and record services. Questions can be answered on a 24/7, 365 multilingual platform and will allow citizens to request live assistance, schedule in-person or virtual appointments utilizing the appointee scheduling software, Zoom Enterprise account, and Pay It online payment software systems. The grant period is October 1, 2020 through September 30, 2024. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the agreement as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Green, supported by Commissioner Bolter, and we will take questions, comments, and discussion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 6 from the treasurer. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to establish the County Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund -2022 collection account, calendar 2021 delinquent real property taxes, and to authorize the sale of general obligation limited tax notes, Series 2022, in an amount not to exceed $25 million. The Board of Commissioners annually approves the establishment of a Kent County Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund collection account pursuant to the provisions of PA 206 of 1893 as amended. The county has annually issued tax notes to pay local governments and itself for delinquent real property taxes since 1973. Last year, the county issued $15.8 million in Series 2021 tax notes for the delinquent 2020 real property taxes. The note proceeds are utilized by the county treasurer to purchase the right to all delinquent 2021 real property taxes that are due to any governmental unit levying taxes. The county treasurer is able to assess an administrative fee of 4% to cover any costs associated with this activity and an interest rate up to 1.5% to the delinquent taxes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, we have moved by Commissioner Morgan. We have support from Commissioner Bolter. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion, and we'll start with Commissioner Morgan.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Over the years, I just like to remind our commissioners, this is something we do, and you don't see this anywhere else. So every year, I like to make the comment, when the other communities ask, what we've done for them lately, this is a big deal. So, but my big question is, for the treasurer, 25 million this year as opposed to 15 million last year. Are we expecting something different?
No, we always, because these meetings are prior to knowing the actual number, I think the last 3 years we've asked up to 25 million. We won't know until the middle of April what those numbers are. We see trends and we can guesstimate, but I'd rather just not have to come back and adjust that. Last year, we asked for up to 25 million, and it was 15.8. We're on track to be right around 15, 16 million this year, and that's what we'll take out, but that's why it's 25 million.
So it's not to exceed, right?
Right. For the past 5 years, I think the highest it's been is 17 million, but it's right around between 15 and 16 million normally, at least over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Well, I got to have a question for the treasurer. I mean, last year when we were on Zoom, if you recall, it was your first year asking for this money. And again, I think I asked the sheriff for a background check since you were new to the office. And
I second
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to harass you. I mean, again, I was waxing nostalgically with Commissioner Bolter when you were on this side of the table and I was on that side.
Right.
In our fair capital. So, but I can't think of any smart alecky questions, or excuse me, serious questions to ask you this morning.
You did mention how you're upset with Lansing, and it's probably because I'm no longer there.
Well, it's definitely true. You know, nothing against Senator Heisinger, but, you know, it's, yes, we'll leave it at that. But it's, yeah, I mean, I definitely will just simply echo Commissioner Morgan's comment that this just helps the literal cash flow of all of our units of government, and we are able to provide that. The one request, when you do give us your annual reports, like how much interest we actually pay the bondholders on this? Because we only, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but we don't hold it that long. I mean, these bonds are what, 2 or 3 years?
2 years.
2 years? 2 years, and then they're paid off. So just, again, not for today, but always interested in how much, and it doesn't cost us anything because, you know, you charge the fees and the interest and what have you. So, but just the cost of other people borrowing us money, because someday we need to have that conversation. We could borrow this 15 million from ourselves. We have plenty of cash, but is it allowable to do that?
Well, and that's something that Al and I have spoke about, trying to possibly finance this with cash, but it has to be a board decision. I mean, it's so, I'm gonna use the word cheap, but it is cheap to borrow money right now when we paid less than 3%, 0.3% in borrowing fees. That's pretty inexpensive. And we're collecting over almost 115% of what is due on the bond. So I can get you numbers on like our financial advisor, which is PFM, which you all know, Dickinson Wright, that does our note counsel. We can get you the fees on there and show you the interest. If there's more that you want to see, there is a cost to bonding out. I mean, it's to pay cash, it's free, except we don't have that cash to do other services in the county. And I don't know if we have 16 million just ready to do that at this time. I think it's something we have to plan for over the next few years, and I think that's a board decision, that if they want us to go down that route, we can start preparing, but it's gonna take, could be 4 or 5 years before we do something like that.
But the money we save could go to educating super seniors about marijuana, right?
Correct, sir.
In all seriousness, though, I mean, back to it, really looking at that of saving those dollars, because if the cash is in the bank, we're getting paid 0.0 something interest.
Right.
So that float between what we pay in interest might be little, but what we could get, is it worth your staff's time and energy, I guess, is the other question.
Yeah, I think it
So-
is between the finance staff and our staff, and working with Al, we could come up with some numbers and show you, you know, the best route to get there. And it still may come up that it's better for the county to bond out, but at least to be able to look at it, I think that's a fair question.
Okay, Commissioner Morgan?
Just a quick follow-up. Yeah, I think it's worth looking at, but we're not losing money in this program, and it's kind of nice to exercise our AAA bond rating.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, and that's
so-
part of this bonding is, you know, setting up the meetings and the review with Moody's and Standard and Poor, because that goes beyond just the bond that the treasurer's office takes out, or the county takes out for the treasurers and the DTANs. It goes beyond that, because every department relies on that AAA bonding rating.
Yeah, and it's just not the 15 million that we'd have to set aside to be 25, right, traditionally, so. I get what you're saying, Commissioner Bolkowski, but, yeah, a super senior thought, so.
And then just as a follow-up, we end up collecting this,
All of
ideally.
it, all of it, and then some.
Right.
Correct,
That's been the historic trend?
right. And if anybody wants to see those numbers for the past 40-some years, we can show you exactly what we've collected and we've covered our costs on all this.
So it's working.
It is working.
Especially since it's been in place since I was 4 years old. So that's been working out really well. So with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 7 from Fiscal Services. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $1,384,072.25 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, for homeless isolation sheltering costs to the 2021 Coronavirus Relief Fund and reallocate $1,384,072.25 from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, CARES. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, CARES Act, established the Coronavirus Relief Fund and appropriated $150 billion to the fund for state and local governments. The CARES Act provided financial aid to families, governments, and businesses impacted by the coronavirus 2019. The resources for local governments in the federal COVID-19 response programs include public health and safety, social services, housing and community development, economic and workforce development, infrastructure and small business assistance, and local government stabilization. In response to the pandemic, the county utilized the initial CARES Act appropriation for homeless isolation sheltering, utilizing COVID-19 funding, and submitted 2 requests for assistance to FEMA for reimbursements of these expenditures. FEMA has awarded the first of 2 requests in January 2022, thus allowing the county to close out the CARES Act appropriation and record reimbursement with the FEMA funding. This action item is an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Sparks and supported by? Supported by Commissioner Bukowski. And we will take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, we continue to say thank you to the service providers in our community that did this work. And then for the county to provide this support with the hope of being reimbursed by FEMA. And I know every once in a while we've asked the question about FEMA and what have you. So, but with this, do we just have a line item that said IOU from FEMA
Oh, look, here comes Jeff.
I don't want to,
Hi, Jeff.
not to say that the CARES Act has been this kind of, again, I pause to call it a shell game, but it's like, okay, we pay it with general fund, but then tomorrow we say, oh, actually, we can reimburse that with CARES, and general fund, we can kick it over here, and we got, $10 million coming up down in the agenda, and so, but this just is, we're gonna accept $1.3 million and nothing's kicking out, which surprises me.
You said that all perfectly.
All right. I understand. CARES Act.
Basically, when these expenses were approved as part of the CARES, as part of the presentations during the CARES money disbursements, we cash flowed these expenses with the CARES dollars, which is allowable. I think we put in this first request in September of 2020, so it was sitting out there well over a year. We finally got notice in January that we got that first award. So now we can basically cash flow those CARES expenses, close that fund out, because those expenses were due to be closed by the end of last year, 2021, and then we'll make that whole fund zeroed out. So utilizing all of our resources to the best, to cover all of our expenses the best way possible.
All right, thank you.
Hey, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 8 from Fiscal Services. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to appropriate up to $10 million to the 2021 Strategic Capital Project in the Capital Improvement Fund. The Strategic Capital CIP project was established in 2015 to set aside funding for future capital needs and to reduce the size of debt associated with large capital projects. Any use of the strategic capital funding must be appropriated by the board before it can be spent. Funding is available in the 2021 general fund budget due to an estimated $10 million budget lapse. it is recommended that up to $10 million be appropriated to the 2021 strategic capital project in the CIP fund from the 2021 general fund budget. The current balance of the strategic capital CIP is $13.5 million.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Morgan, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Bolter.
Chair Jones, I just want to say what a great example of how we use resources here in Kent County. If anyone wants to know where their money's going or why we get a AAA bond rating, this is one of those reasons. And just want to thank the fiscal staff for all their hard work and all of our county staff for really watching every single penny to be able to allow us to put this money away. As you'll recall, I believe it was this fund that was allowed us to pay cash for the 3 projects. And that's just an awesome, awesome precedent that we set years ago. And I'm really, really thankful that we do it. So thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah, I'd like to echo former chair's comments on that. I'm all for, putting money away for, the infrastructure. As you know, I've been preaching this for years, and to be able to fund a couple of projects without having to bond for it is just, we're in a place that very few governmental agencies are able to get to. So I think it's great that we're making an investment in our infrastructure, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Bukowski.
Definitely echo those comments related to our ability to use these dollars for needed capital expenditures. Excited for the eventual ribbon cutting up North County. Hopefully, there's not too many supply chain issues out there, but we won't ask that question. But with this, so the current 13.5 million, is that earmarked for those 3 projects, or that 13.5? And I know this is up to 10, so as you balance out last year, it could be likely south of that number. So, I mean, in theory, we would have $23 million for future projects?
Welcome back to the podium, Jeff.
Thank you. That's exactly correct. Yeah, and the 19's already been removed from those, for those 3 projects, the 19.8 or whatever it ended up being. So this will be in addition to those. So we should have roughly, the 23, 24 million.
All right, that's a good thing. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Hey, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 9 from the Parks Department. Al?
Yes, action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve a 2022 transfer of up to $200,000 from the CIP undesignated budget to the Millennium Park Pavement Replacement CIP to exempt Board of Commissioners bid policy pursuant to fiscal policy centralized purchasing 5.M to authorize purchasing to amend the light load service paving contract from $264,485 to $365,620 to pave Millennium Park Parking Lot C and to amend the contract to complete the entire Millennium Park paving project in 2022. Bid 4592 was solicited for Millennium Park paving maintenance. 6 bids were received. A low bid of $264,485 was awarded to Light Load Service of Hamilton, Michigan. The 2022 capital improvement project included an appropriation of $400,000 to pave Millennium Park parking lots A and B and a portion of C in 2022, and requests an additional $400,000 appropriation to complete parking lot C and the drive in 2023. Due to favorable bids, Parks can complete parking lot C with the 2022 appropriated funds at an additional cost of $101,135. This additional work was not included in the original bid specifications. Unit pricing was provided, and we can determine the amended bid amount is consistent with the original bid. The additional funding from the undesignated CIP budget will allow the completion of the entire Millennium Park paving project in 2022 at an additional cost not to exceed $200,000.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Sparks, and we will take questions, comments, and discussions, and we'll start with Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, definitely support this waiver of the rule and making sure this project gets done makes total sense. To me, it's a math question. If the low bid was 264 and the additional cost is 101, that gets us to 365, and the original appropriation was 400,000, why do we need $200,000 more? Yeah, sorry for
Hey, Cal.
bringing out my 8th grade algebra class.
Let's have Cal to the podium.
Good morning. The reason is, at the time of the action item, we were getting quote and calculating the rest of the project. We will not be using the total 200,000 on it. The total project will come in at $506,410 to complete it.
Okay, so there's more to the project than just the paving.
No, we have 400,000 appropriated in 2022.
Yep.
So the bid came in and we calculated how much we can do with the remainder of the appropriation. But to finish the entire paving project this year, we need the additional money to get us to the 506,410.
But we don't need 200,000, we need
Right.
the 101, because it's estimated versus actual bid.
Up to.
Yeah.
The low bid is 264, but is that just paving?
It's paving of partial of the
Yeah,
entire
correct.
paving.
No, I get that. That was the first project that we thought was going to cost 400,000.
Correct. And then we had planned on finishing Lot C next year and
Yep.
doing the drive.
Totally
So
understand.
we went back and quoted Lot C to finish it, and that's 101, 135.
Yep.
And then we're saying, if we go ahead and do the entire project this year, what would it take to do the driveway? And that's an additional 143,590. So the total work is 506,410. You have 400,000 appropriated, so we need the 106,410 to complete the paving and not have to do it next year.
All right, so I guess just there's missing the line item for the driveway, but if you're
Correct.
all right, so it's all good.
It's all good. We could proceed, and timing is everything. We need to
Oh,
get it
correct.
going. So we could proceed with the amount that we had appropriated. We need the additional money just to finish it and be done with it.
Correct. So from a math perspective, though, that driveway portion isn't on this memo, which gets us to the 506 in expenditures.
Yeah, that is,
So-
and to amend the contract to complete the entire Millennium paving project if it's appropriated, because we can't complete it. And
Yep.
so that's where that is covered in that last sentence of the action request.
All right,
I think
good.
Commissioner Morgan wants to chime in.
Yeah, hi, Cal.
Morning. Sure.
So, this kind of looks like Chicago math to me a little bit, but, so, what you're saying is, now, that 100,000 addition, has that been awarded in a bid, or is that pending a bid? Or is that all inclusive in the original bid?
The 101,000 cannot be awarded unless you authorize me to do it, because the amendment to the original bid is greater than the policy allows. So you're authorizing me to do the amendment to complete the project.
So, and that is within our policies, right?
That's following our policy. If you don't authorize me to amend it, then I would need to go back and rebid.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're following our purchasing. I know you
Yeah,
are.
following our purchasing
I'm
policy.
not questioning that, I just want to point out, we're just following our purchasing policies.
That's
right?
exactly what we're doing.
I would never say that you would never follow policies, Cal, so.
Jeff,
just-
did you have something you'd like
Just
to
real,
add?
just real quick, when we put this memo together, we didn't have that final driveway paving bid. So that's why we put the 200,000, and it actually came in considerably less than that. So we won't use the 200, we'll use that 110.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That'll bring us to item number 10 for Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous from the Finance and Physical Resources Committee? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
I just want to, tomorrow is for many folks in the Christian world, begins Lent. And you know, we've all, not all, but many of us have been watching the news about Ukraine and all that stuff. So, that we're aware of a time of looking at what we do and why we do it, together. And so, happy Lent.
Excellent. Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Green.
I'd like to echo what Commissioner Bulkowski said, but also I had the opportunity, and I hope the rest of you did too, to attend the information session about the amphitheater project, and I might be stealing the chair's thunder. I don't know if you're going to mention this or not, but it sounds like that may be coming before us in a couple of weeks to consider. So if that's not on your radar yet, put it on your radar and get with the chair and with Al, and they can bring you up to speed. But looking forward to discussing that with this group. I think it could be a really transformational thing for our community if we're able to get it done.
Thanks. Anyone else? All right, seeing no other comments, we are adjourned on March 15th at 8:30 a.m. for the next one.